When Simone de Beauvoir rejected bourgeois values and decided to pursue philosophy at the Sorbonne, she did it. When Charles Darwin decided to set sail on the HMS Beagle with empty notebooks in hand, he did it. When the Buddha decided to leave this rich, lavish, wealthy lifestyle and family behind, taking nothing with him, he did it. Now, what do all three of these people have in common? They all took a step backwards and started walking a non-linear career. Now, my name is Joel Yulee. I'm a philosopher. I am absolutely obsessed with vocations and understanding the life's work of individuals. That's why I'm here on places like YouTube, Substack, podcast, educating people. It's why I have and lead an online community that guides people to choosing the right career path with conviction by unearthing their own career archetype. So they're no longer having to think about different paths or options or, am I going to get it wrong if I choose this one? And they can come into a deep understanding of what it is that they're meant for and get going. Because it's my belief that every single person in this world has a calling. And by pursuing that calling, we're able to step into and embody our exalted form in the world. And to not do that, we end up with this life of resentment and really regret. And in understanding vocations, one thing that becomes really, really clear is that the right path is often the wrong path. And what I mean by this is we've been given and conditioned and imbued with this idea that a path should be easy to follow, should be linear, should be step by step. Get a degree, get an internship, make our way up in a company. It's very obvious. Right? There's a clear roadmap to how we get to a particular position. And we've just been hammered with this idea. So when we start to become aware that a particular path that we've been pursuing isn't quite for us, it can make us feel incredibly uneasy. Because this belief that the path should be linear is one that has been so embedded in us that it's almost like this belief is our Siamese twin. Right? We're conjoined at the hip with this belief that it should be linear and it should look a particular way. And at a particular age, we should hit certain milestones. And yet, the real path is not like that. But it doesn't make it any easier to step away from it and to pursue something different. And as we're starting to think about, if I could pursue something different, we're immediately met with these concerns, with these worries, with these fears. Things like, if I do pursue that path, then the beady, judgmental eyes of others are suddenly on me. They're going to be looking at me. They're going to be judging me. They're going to say things about me. I don't know if I can handle that. Or maybe you start thinking, what if I fail? What if I leave this path that everybody else sees as the right path because I want to go try something else, but I end up failing? And then everyone's going to be like, well, I told you so. I told you shouldn't have done that. Having to deal with that. Or maybe you don't want to go back to go, right? If you ever played the Monopoly game, getting sent back to the starting line is something people want to avoid. I've invested so much time, energy, attention into learning this path, into walking this path. I don't want to have to start again. I don't want to have to go back to the beginning. I want to just continue on going forward. And yet, the moment you start to get an awareness that the current path that you're on isn't your path, it's wrong, it's holding you back, it's decaying your soul, it's causing you to feel incredibly drained. There's no vitality in you, there's no excitement in you to pursue this path. Then you have to take a step backwards and begin walking a non-linear career path. You have to start severing yourself from this. Realize that the Buddha wouldn't have attained enlightenment underneath the Bodhi tree had he not left the linear path that he was on. Make no mistake, he was on a linear path. His dad was told, or it was prophesized, and he was told that his son would be either a great spiritual teacher or a conqueror. And his dad's like, I'm going to make sure he's a conqueror. And so he bubbles up his son. He makes sure that he's only shown pleasures, youth, excitement, entertainment, never seeing anything else outside of this bubble. And so the Buddha's living this lifestyle until he eventually goes outside of it accidentally and is interrupted by negativity, by people going through tough times, by people that are aging, by people that have disease and sickness and illness. And he's immediately met with a decision. Do I continue on going the path of the conqueror, which I've already put so much time and energy into, and that's the way that I know, or do I start to pursue something else? Do I start to take a step backwards in order to properly connect into what it is that I'm meant to be pursuing? And we should all be super thankful that he did, because by doing that, he gained enlightenment, and not only that, he ended up being able to bring it back to the masses to teach. And his collective amount of wisdom that he gained over that time was spread around. And so we now know his story and his understandings. And this really is connected as well with nature's wisdom. Because to walk a linear path and to be pushing for a linear path, it actually goes against the wisdom of nature. In the same way that every up has a down, every yin has a yang, every on has an off, we too have to recognize that in our paths, we also may need to pull back. We may need to stop, to return. And the real wisdom and art to going backwards is the realization that going backwards often takes you forwards. That by going backwards, you often are able to connect back into yourself and properly realize the path that you're meant to be walking and the life that you're meant to be leading. Because if you think about it, going backwards, it's just a perspective. It's a perspective that is related and connected to the current path that you're on. And so if you think you're going backwards, you're relating it to your current path, your current trajectory. And yet that trajectory, if you already are becoming aware that this isn't the path that I'm meant for, then it's not actually taking you forwards. It's taking you away from yourself. It's taking you away from where it is that you're meant to be. And so pulling back can be so incredibly important in the same way that the waves, if you've ever gone to the beach, you would know the waves crash and they go out and they pull in and they boom back, pull back, pull back. And by going backwards, it actually gives you the ability to surge forwards later on in the right direction. I mean, imagine if you are speeding down a highway, you are just driving in this direction, and you believe it's the right direction, and you've been going at it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, driving, and then all of a sudden you realize that you are going the wrong direction. And you've been going the wrong direction for hours. Do you, A, keep driving the wrong direction and just hope in your mind that, I hope it works out, I hope this direction just eventually takes me where I'm meant to be. I'm just going to ignore this realization that I'm going the wrong direction and I'm just going to keep going this way? Or do you pull off to the side, pump the brakes, stop, pause, breathe, open Google Maps, oh yep, I am going the wrong direction, and turn around? Now I would hope you would pull off to the side and turn around. But when it comes to careers, people don't do that. People just keep driving and driving and driving. I know it's wrong, keep driving and driving and driving. I know it's wrong, keep driving and driving and driving. It's like, why are you driving that way? It's the wrong direction. You don't want to be going there. And maybe you have seen yourself doing this. Maybe you were someone that was leaving college, you got an internship, and then suddenly that internship turned into a full-time job. That full-time job turned into you leading a team, and suddenly you're a manager and you have a really nice salary and everything's going well, but there's a part of you that realizes and knows there's a big piece missing here. This isn't what you're meant to be doing. You're not in the place that you're meant to be. And every time that thought creeps in, you push it away. You continue going on in the wrong direction. Well, going backwards, stepping away, is going to help you to reconnect with where it is that you're meant to be, the direction that you're meant to be going in. Or maybe you're someone that's just been flat out for years, just working. You know you're burning out. You know that you're strained. And if you take a step backwards, you can reconnect with yourself. You can take some time to heal yourself. And you can come back like the waves and surge forward stronger than ever. Or maybe you're someone that had many different passions or interests and they're floating around the place. And maybe you've had a desire to pursue some of them. But when you went to go pursue them back in high school, someone said, hey, you can't do that. It's not practical. Not going to be able to pay the bills. Not going to be able to go that way. You have to do something realistic. And you listened. And now you're wondering if you should have. Or maybe nobody told you. And this idea and belief just seeped into you like osmosis. And it's in your blood and you can't get it out. Stepping back is going to help you to get reconnected, to get clear and clean on what it is that you're actually meant to be moving towards. Realize that Simone de Beauvoir, right, who diverted away from bourgeois values, diverted away from being just simply a housewife, who didn't have an intellectual life, knew that she needed to pursue philosophy. And because she did, we have so many of her monumental works. We have the book, The Second Sex, which is just this revolutionary text and sits firmly at the top of the mantle when it comes to existential philosophy, when it comes to feminism. We wouldn't have had that if she didn't take a step backwards, right? Walk a non-linear career path. And as I get deeper into this work, another thing that I'm constantly becoming aware of is that the people that walk their vocation, they walk the path they're meant to be walking in this life, they self-surrender to their own inner compass. They self-surrender to their own inner compass. And we all have an inner compass that leads us, directs us, that knows what's best for us. It transcends our ego and our identity and informs us that, hey, all these fears and stuff that you're feeling, you need to overcome them. You need to tap in and hold into this direction because that's the actual right direction for you. And the people that walk their vocations the best are deeply connected to this inner compass. It's like this really, really strong connection point of like interwoven root system where they are connected to their inner compass. Other people, most people, unfortunately, there's no connection there. Maybe they had a connection in the past, but it's been severed. Or maybe they have a connection, but it's really fragile. One comment here, one person doubting them there, and it's just cut. So you need to strengthen that inner compass. And then you need to allow it to lead you. And by allowing it to lead you, it's going to take you in the right direction. I mean, realize that Charles Darwin, in pursuing what he pursued, which was this theory of evolution, this wouldn't have came about. This monumental paradigm shift as to how we see the world wouldn't have came about if he continued on the linear career path that he was on. He was walking a path whereby he was going to become a clergyman because, and basically sign up with the church because his father said, hey, this is what you should be doing. And he listened. And he was going to university for it. But he couldn't help that he had natural inclinations elsewhere. Natural inclinations that were connected to biology, wildlife, the natural world. And so he started testing this stuff and playing with this stuff, and he ended up getting invited on this explorative journey across the world to places like South America, Australia, New Zealand. And he wanted to go, and he told his dad, and his dad said, no, you're not going. You can't go. It's going to take you away from the path that has been set. And it wasn't until his uncle ended up getting involved, whereby his dad eventually submitted, and we should all be thankful that he did. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the theory of evolution, and we wouldn't have had Charles Darwin's work in the world, which has been fundamental. And this is going to be the same for you. You have fundamental work to be done. But in order to get there, if you don't know what that work is already, you'll need to take a step backwards. You'll need to start to walk your path in a way where it's non-linear, because you're already walking a path at the moment. Even if you don't know what you want to be doing, you're still walking a kind of path. You're still going through the motions of this path. And the reason for this is that the modern world, they've set out these frictionless career paths that are linear, that are step by step, and everyone just slides on down them. But your vocation is not this step ladder. You're not climbing up this step ladder in order to reach the pinnacle. Your vocation, it moves in squiggles. It moves in circular motions. It's not this robotic or artificial process that's very, very obviously sequential. It's like this organic, unfolding story full of these twists and these turns, and you have to tune in to these different twists and turns. You almost need to become like a sniffer dog. Have you ever seen these dogs and they go and they hunt truffles around the place? And they'll go through these unexplored territories and terrains looking for these truffles. You need to become like this. You need to develop your instinct, this scent of what the path is, and you need to follow that instinct. And you need to continue to follow it, even if it doesn't give you the entire map. Because this is another thing that happens, is that you don't get given the entire instruction booklet when you're pursuing the true path. You don't get given this, if you've ever done something like put together IKEA furniture and it tells you all the different steps. That's not what a vocation looks like. It looks like developing your scent for it. It looks like developing and following your nose. This is how you get the Darwins of the world. This is how you get the Buddhas of the world. This is how you get the Beauvoirs of the world. Not by pursuing linear careers, rather by pursuing non-linear careers that are connected to your own inner compass, so that you know that at certain points, hey, I'm going the wrong direction, and the best thing for me to do right now is to take a step backwards. Now, if you're interested in learning more about how I show people how to navigate non-linear career paths, as well as choose the right career path with conviction by unearthing your own career archetype, so you're not continually stuck in this phase of, like, should I do this or this path, or I have too many options, or which interest do I choose, and you want to know what the real thing is. You want to know what your path is. Then I would encourage you to check out our online membership, where I have this online course that goes for 8 weeks, and it shows people the exact process to unearthing this core inner knowing so that they can get going on pursuing what they're meant for in this lifetime. You'll also see other people in there unearthing their career archetype, talking and having discussions about how they're approaching their own unique paths. And so if you do have this feeling of, like, I know this path that I'm currently on, it's not for me, but maybe you don't know exactly what is for you or how to go about approaching it or what the structure would look like, then I invite you to our online membership where I'll show you exactly that. And I hope to see you inside. I'll go ahead and put a link underneath this video.